Hey Emma,
Yes, Madelyn.
what do you call it when your friend Hillary is being quieter than usual?
Uh, After the election.
No, Emma. Silent Hill! Hello, and welcome to Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
I'm your opening jokester host, Madelyn.
I am your not funny host, Emma.
That's not true. Emma is much funnier than me. She just doesn't traffic in jokes.
That's true. I don't traffic in that horrible substance known as puns.
It's too pedestrian.
Get help if you engage in puns.
Seriously.
It's not too late to
It
change.
becomes a lifelong addiction, so you really have to nip it in the bud early.
Yeah. Anyway.
This week's games, as you might have picked up from the joke, we're talking about Silent Hill, and we're also talking about Yakuza, which you probably didn't pick up from the opening joke.
Do you know if it's, I feel like I should know this because I actually have played a game, but is it Yakuza or Yakuza?
I think the emphasis is on the first syllable, but I could be wrong.
I'm not sure.
If we have any Yakuza in the audience, please call in.
You have some downtime. You've got some niche interests.
Seriously.
For Yakuza.
I was trying to come up with a joke that was Yakuza, but the best I could come up with was like either something about like a yak that's like oozing, like a
gross
yak oozer, which is gross, or like Yakuza.
No.
So
I'm glad you went with Silent Hillary.
Yeah. So I know I was a little bit at first, when Emma sent me these games, I was like, which one's the old game?
Yeah. To be fair, well, Silent Hill does not have any new ones. Yakuza has been around for a while.
Yeah, that's what tipped me off.
But has new games currently.
So that means that Silent Hill is our old game, and we're going to be starting with that this week.
Yep.
So Silent Hill is a 1999 survival horror game from Konami. It was made in Japan. And originally released on the PlayStation. No numbers, just the PlayStation.
Yeah.
You can download it now from the PS Network if you have a PS3. I will not be doing so for reasons that I will explain.
There's also if you don't want to go that far back, there's a reimagining/remake of the first version called Shattered Memories. That's a little bit different, but it's sort of the same premise as the first game, so if you don't want to go that far back in graphics quality.
So I think that the development of this game is like very interesting or weird. So it's developed by a team within Konami, and it's within like some subsidiary of Konami. So it's not even
the first 4 games anyway.
Yeah. I'm just talking about the first game right now. Well, I guess it is the same thing, but it's developed by this like weird little team called Team Silent, who is a development team of losers.
Yeah.
Basically. They're a team within Konami. They'd failed at a bunch of other projects. It's all people who were like about to leave the company, basically, because they were really bad at their jobs.
Yeah.
Not because that's rude to say. They were
because they had not been doing so well lately.
Yeah.
At their jobs.
And I feel like this kind of, it's the last game we're gonna make mentality almost always yields extreme success for Japanese games.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's, I feel like that's that common thing, though. You want to put your all into your last hurrah, and then if your last hurrah ends up better than the ones you hadn't maybe been putting as much effort into. It's sort of logical.
Yeah. So, like, they were, like, weirdly ostracized by the company, too. It's, like, it's interesting.
Yeah, I read that guy who did the character design or character animation.
Like the 3D animation.
Really sell himself aggressively to keep doing it.
He was
I was like, wow, this guy's my hero.
He was like, you're going to give me this job or I'm not going to teach anyone else how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he lived in the office for 2 years so that no one could take his job away.
Yeah.
I mean, mostly so he could render characters overnight on everybody's computer. But, yeah.
I mean, it's terrible to think about, especially with all the talk right now about unions and what crunch does to people. But at the same time, impressive levels of dedication, this guy.
It doesn't surprise me that out of this team that was, like, bizarrely out of the, like, it was just, like, a weird little team that we come up with this, like, very, very strange little game.
Yeah.
So Silent Hill, it's very much inspired by the works of David Lynch, and I'm not super familiar with the works of David Lynch, and even I can sort of see the parallels.
Yeah.
It's set in a fictional American town called Silent Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And on a side note, I think it's fascinating when I like seeing what Japanese companies think fictional American towns look like. But anyway.
It's supposed to be, they eventually narrow it down to Maine, by the way.
Great. So it's Silent Hill, Maine.
Yeah.
And our first game follows Harry Mason as he searches for his missing adopted daughter, Cheryl, after, like, they're in a car crash and he loses conscience and... Not conscience. Consciousness.
He loses his conscience. Well, sort of.
Kind of. And she's disappeared. And then all kinds of crazy stuff happens.
Yeah.
I tried to follow the plot summary.
It's a horror game.
I know that.
I was reading a related article that it wasn't about this, but somebody mentioned that, like, American audiences, especially, like, with Japanese developers and American audiences, sometimes have, like, differing mentalities of American audiences always want something to have answers and make logical sense, and Japanese audiences aren't usually as concerned about that, if that makes sense.
Well, they apparently intentionally made the plot, like, very vague and even sometimes contradictory.
I mean, it's horror. I feel like that's what you should do with horror. And I'm not a horror aficionado. I'm not a fan of roller coasters or anything that makes my stomach drop. So, but I feel like when you're doing horror, it shouldn't be... I don't want the exposition drop of what the thing is happening is, you know? Because that just makes it not scary. Fear of the unknown.
You don't find that the Scooby-Doo cartoons are the epitome of horror programming?
Well, I guess that's true. That's the one exception.
It was the old white man all along.
Oh, no!
Who would have thought?
Wow, what Scooby-Doo was really just telling us stories about our society.
I know.
All along, it was the old white man. Sorry.
Anyway.
Let's get a little political there.
Well,
Oops.
You already made a Hillary Clinton joke. So, here we are. But so, like, to try to give a vague idea of what happens without giving away, because I don't really understand too much of the twists of the game.
Mm.
So he finds in Silent Hill this, like, cult that's trying to revive their deity.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that he is going to have to kill a demon, or they're going to sacrifice his daughter to the demon instead. And then all sorts of, like, other crazy stuff goes down. There's some police officer who's, like, maybe possessed or something, and that kind of thing. And even though this game is 1999, but it's on the forefront of those choice-based not choice-based, but, you know, the very beginning of our player agency kind of games. And so there are 5 game endings possible, really 4 real ones, and 1 joke ending, where I think I can give the joke ending away. I mean, not that I couldn't spoil the other endings, but the joke ending, Harry is literally, he's abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
And that joke ending literally came from, like, an office suggestion box of, like, what's another explanation for what's happening here?
I'm pretty sure in almost every subsequent Silent Hill game, there has been an alien joke ending from then on.
It's canon. It's not really a joke ending, it's the real ending.
Yeah. People probably actually are more familiar with Silent Hill 2 just because of Pyramid Head. Do you know Pyramid Head?
I feel like I read the name while I was researching, but talk to me about Pyramid Head.
Well, I mean, it's just I think he's become sort of the thing that people think of when they think Silent Hill, but it's just a monster from Silent Hill 2 that shows up occasionally.
I'm looking him up right now. Pyramid Head. Also known as Red Pyramid Thing. In case you're... Oh, this does look familiar.
Yeah.
Well,
Silent Hill 2... Silent Hill 1 is pretty critically acclaimed, but Silent Hill 2 is where I think the series really took off in terms of, like, people put that on their lists of, like, greatest video games of all time.
Well, I'll have to check the Wikipedia and see if it makes the Wikipedia list. That's my defining list.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, it is. I have it in my notes. It's on the Wikipedia page. So that means it's legit.
Yeah.
I also enjoyed on Wikipedia, there's a line that it treats as if, like, using a DualShock controller, as if that's, like, an if. They're like, if you're using a DualShock controller, you can feel the heartbeat when you're low on health. It's like, what a time before controllers that vibrate.
Well, I mean, even now there are still third-party controllers.
Who uses those?
I don't know. People who have disabilities. Probably.
Wow, you just made me look like a monster. Okay.
And people who just, don't like DualShocks. I don't know.
Who has a problem with... I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen a controller that wasn't a DualShock.
Your Switch controllers.
Okay, fine. For PlayStation. You dummy.
The Xbox controller for
I'm
PlayStation.
aware of the fact that DualShock is only a PlayStation thing.
Yeah.
Read the context of my words.
Okay, I gotcha. Well, maybe it wasn't back in the original PlayStation days.
I mean, I know... Yes, that's true. I just think it's funny that, like, this controller that I don't even... It's like, it's the only controller.
Mm-hmm.
This game is old enough that it wasn't the only controller.
I think it's funny that it's, like, a revolutionary breakthrough for you to be able to hear the heartbeat through the controller. Especially because they do so much with vibration now.
Yeah, I know.
Controller.
It's so lifelike.
And also, they just, like, the lights on the DualShock 4. They don't really add to my feeling of lifelike, but I like how it changes color depending on the game you're playing.
Wow.
I always wonder how they do that. They have to, like, does the game developer make it, or do they tell PlayStation, like, we want the DualShock to be red during this game?
This is such they designed this with woman gamers in mind. You know that, right?
Huh?
They must, because, like, a man gamer would never be like, I love when my controller changes color. This is purely a lady function. So.
Wow, man, that's sexist. There's probably a male listener right now who's like, I like color.
I'm not saying that, like, men don't notice it. I'm just saying if I was in the Sony office, I'm being like, oh yeah, the women are gonna love this. So aesthetically pleasing.
Okay.
Anyway. Silent Hill is also famous for being adapted into a 2006 feature film called Silent Hill. And it was not a critical success because, it's a video game.
Yeah.
I'm still laughing over the Rock quote that we talked about a couple weeks ago. But in the film, Harry is replaced by a female protagonist, Rose, because, speaking of sexism, the director thought that Harry had a lot of feminine traits. So he's replaced with Rose. Sean Bean is in it. He's famous.
I read, though, that they added a scene. I don't know if this is Sean Bean playing it, but they added a scene of, like, her husband driving through Silent Hill, and it's, like, all normal looking. And people are like, what is with this scene? It's so pointless. And apparently it was just because they were worried that people would find it weird that there were no male characters in the movie.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of if you replace Harry with a female, there's mostly females.
That's true. Well, we certainly can't have that.
Yeah, how dare they?
That's who will come see that movie? I don't know. I also think, in another, like, relic of a different era, the director, Christopher Gans, like, literally persuaded the Silent Hill people to give him the rights by sending a video saying how important the games were to him. Like, he just shot a video of himself, and, like, he got the rights. I don't know, I feel like video game movie rights are worth a little bit more than that now.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like passion is a good way to at least sell yourself.
No, I get that, but I also just feel like Silent Hill is a very successful video game. And today, if you have a very successful video game, you're selling the movie rights to some big studio right away. Like, before the game is even out. I just think it's funny that then it was like, it took him years, and the way he did it was he sent like a video. And it has to have been like a crappy, like 2004 video. It's not like he had his iPhone, or his iPhone X to do it in portrait mode and look fancy and all that stuff.
I mean, do video game studios really sell their rights, like, ever? And also, I imagine the process might be different with trying to get a Japanese game studio to sell it to you.
Yeah, I mean, I won't pretend to know the logistics of this, because I don't. But I just feel like, it feels like literally anyone could have sent it a nice enough video. Like, could I have sent it a video? I was like 10, but could I have done it? Probably.
Sure.
The reason I mentioned, like, I will never play this game, not because I hate horror video games. I mean, I don't play a lot of them, but I also have a system that is now, like, 10 years old, right? So I'm a little behind the cutting edge. I mean, I also have the Switch, but are there horror games on the Switch?
Maybe.
It doesn't really feel like the system. Overcooked is a horror game.
It is, though.
But the reason I will not play this game is, so in, like, what was a big step forward at the time, Harry Mason is not, like, a combat god, right? Mm-hmm. He's just, like, everything describes him as an everyman. So he has no combat training. So he, like, is intentionally bad at shooting.
Yeah.
And as someone who's already bad at a shooter game, I cannot compound how bad I am with my character also can't aim. So,
to be fair, I think that's part, it's like to encourage you to stay away from combat as much as possible.
Okay, I mean, I can get behind that, but there must be parts of the game where it's necessary, and that would be where I quit.
I mean, I don't know. But I feel like the part of Silent Hill as a horror game is that it's mostly you're supposed to sort of sneak your way around monsters or avoid them somehow.
I know. I just think, so, like, that seems like a good thing in this game. But if anyone ever makes a shooter game, and I'm sure they have, where the character is bad, that's, like, the game I'm the least likely to buy of all the games. Because I need my character to be really good at this so that we are only mediocre when we're combined with my skills.
There you go.
I have gotten better. I've been playing, not recently really, but I had been playing some Borderlands, and my skills have gotten better, but I don't think I'll ever identify as someone who is, even vaguely good at these kinds of games, even if I become vaguely good at them.
I feel like I am better at third-person shooters than first-person shooters. In first person, I have trouble managing the camera on top of, or like managing where people are in position to me on top of shooting.
Because like it doesn't make sense. In a first-person shooter game, you can be ambushed from behind.
Because you have no spatial awareness. Yeah.
Which, like, you know, of course it's possible to be ambushed from behind, but not from these like screaming Borderland psychos who are like screaming. And it's like, where are they screaming from? I don't know.
Yeah. I have trouble also, like, you know, sometimes you can find where someone is from, like, where they're shooting from, but I can't never find them. I'm like, it seems like they're shooting from over there, but where are they?
See, that's something that would be great in a horror game, right? In Silent Hill, maybe you can be snuck up from behind because you have no spatial awareness, and you can't figure out where the bullets are coming from, but because of the fog that they rendered in, so they didn't have to deal with the crappy graphical capabilities of the PlayStation.
Read that. You know what? It became pretty trademark for the series.
I know, but again, that's another thing I feel like happens in art in general and video games a lot. It's like, oh, we're gonna do this thing to make our lives easier, and it becomes this like iconic stylistic choice.
Yeah. I did think that was funny though. Just like pile on the fog so we don't have to deal with the background elements.
That's a good way to save money.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of money...
Okay. Sure.
The Yakuza.
I'm sure they have money, yeah.
Their whole thing is about, like, money laundering and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. A lot of the Yakuza series that I've played have to do with real estate. Very exciting stuff.
That's another good, and we're going to be talking about an upcoming vlog series. Real estate brokers play Yakuza. So before I get into our excellent upcoming vlogs, let's, Emma, do you want to give some background on Yakuza, or shall I?
Sure, I can do it.
Go for it.
So Yakuza, that's known as Ryuga Gotoku, or like a dragon in Japan, is a sort of a pseudo open world action adventure game, sort of beat 'em up, where you play as Kazuma Kiryu, or Kiryu Kazuma, depending on how you're ordering his names, who is a member of the Yakuza at times, who's involved with the Yakuza.
He has, certainly at some points in his life, been a mid-level Yakuza boss.
Yes.
He kind of just keeps leaving and coming back.
Yes. And you take him through his adventures in the city of, particularly in the city of what they say is Kamurocho, which is based on, I can't remember.
Kabuchiko.
Kabuchiko, yeah.
Oh, wait, no, I did that wrong. Kabukicho.
Kabukicho. Yeah, but they call it Kamurocho. And then in various games, you go to various areas, and there are also other playable characters in various games, but Kiryu is the series protagonist, at least up into Yakuza 6, which just released in the West, which is the end of Kazuma Kiryu's story. And in the main series, not counting like the zombie spin-off and like the historical Japanese spin-off, but there have been 7 games so far that follow Kiryu on his many adventures, being best dad. So the new ones, the ones that are most recent in the West, which all came out in the West at least within the last year, because of reasons, localization is a little odd with Yakuza, which we can talk about. But Yakuza 0 is the prequel to all the Yakuza games, where you play as super young Kiryu. And then they just released the remake of their original, which is Yakuza Kiwami, which literally translates to Yakuza Extreme, I'm pretty sure. And then Yakuza 6 Song of Life just released in the West a couple weeks ago.
But see, why didn't they call these remakes and prequels like Yakuza 3.75? Yakuza 4/3?
Because they wanted to do Extreme! And then Yakuza Kiwami 2 is going to be localized this year.
In August, I think, is the current timeline.
Yeah.
So one of the first things I want to talk about before we get into, like, there's so much good Yakuza content, I feel like, to talk about today.
Yakuza is a fun series of games, for many reasons.
It's tempting me to play it. Can I get it on the PS3?
I'm not sure if the PS3 version... You could probably get some of them on the PS3. And I know Yakuza 0 came out on both, at least in Japan, but I think they might have just brought the PS4 version
I'll have to take a look.
To the West.
But something that I'm mostly talking about this because I'm simultaneously playing Persona 5, and I've read people talking about this online. I love how Japanese game designers frequently create recognizable neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. Like, look, that's the flower shop on the corner that I've been to, and here's my favorite ramen shop. And it's, like, actually lines up with the real world. I wish more American game makers did that. The only one I can think of is Lego Marvel with New York. And that one's not even, like, super right, but it was still really thrilling for me to go back and play Lego Marvel once I moved to New York and be like, wow, look, here we are down by NYU, and like, now we're on the Upper West Side.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't even that good, and it was still really cool.
Yeah. The new Spider-Man game coming out, maybe we'll do that with New York again. I don't know. I don't know very much about the new Spider-Man game coming out.
I know, but I'm not likely to buy every single superhero game.
That's true.
It needs to be in other games.
That's true. But yeah, like, especially as you look through the game's chronology, it's really fascinating because even though there are different settings, they always feature this Kamurocho. And it's really interesting to see, like, the progression of the city as the story goes on. Especially when you're comparing, like, Yakuza 0 to Yakuza 6. Or even Yakuza 0 to Yakuza Kiwami, it's, like, profoundly different because Yakuza 0 is set during a time where Japan was in a bubble economy. So it's, like, glitz and glamour and craziness everywhere. And then as you get into more modern titles, it becomes more sort of an average sort of city, but still recognizable from all the sites you saw in various games. I think that's, like, a sign of really, really detail-oriented, good location design, of being able to, like, go into another game in the series and feel like you're going back to Kamurocho and not, like, a new place. Like, having that location consistency.
I wonder where are you in The Last of Us? You're in Boston?
A bunch of places.
Oh, okay.
You start in Boston.
Yeah. Was it recognizable to you?
You go to the whatever it's called, the place with the golden building, the golden ceiling, city hall or something. Mm-hmm. I know where that is.
I wonder if you knew Boston better, if that would be cool, and that would be like...
I mean, it's a post-apocalyptic Boston, and you don't really wander throughout the city, so I don't know if I would really be able to recognize it. Like I said, that one building looked familiar, and the area in front of it looked sort of familiar, and they have the T signs, I think.
Yeah, they do.
But it's not like you could, like, wander the streets and recognize it.
Well, yeah, I know it wasn't the same. I was just saying in a post-apocalyptic kind of way. Yeah. Anyway, would love for more Western game designers to jump on that because it's really fun.
Yeah.
And I look forward to eventually going to Japan and visiting the Yakuza. No.
saying hi to the Yakuza buddies we have over there.
Speaking of Yakuza buddies, I mean, I think we would be remiss to go through this whole episode without informing people about the greatest review of this that exists.
Yeah.
So it's on Boing Boing, right?
Yeah, Boing Boing.
There's a reporter. His name is Jake. The last name starts with an A. And he's been a crime reporter in Tokyo for like 12 years. So he's got a lot of Yakuza contacts. And so he brings them like 3 of his closest Yakuza buds, I guess. Yakuza 3. And has them review it. And it's delightful. They approve overall. Here are some highlights. We'll share the link to it on our social media, but some highlights. They love that you eat food to power up.
Yeah.
They're like, that makes sense. We'd like that.
As opposed to drugs.
They're like, where's the meth? But they're like, at least they're sake. They were a little angry, feeling like they'd been stereotyped, but the stereotypes are realistic. They say that they know people who talk like this. Apparently, this guy has more morals, though, than the current Yakuza, because he runs his orphanage in Yakuza 3.
Yeah, they said he's like an old-style Yakuza. I really like that line. They said, like, this guy runs an orphanage. I knew a guy who ran an orphanage like that. And one of the guys goes, wasn't it a tax shelter, though? He's like, yeah, it was a tax shelter, but they took care of the kids.
Yeah, I was about to mention that. So, like...
I thought that was such a funny...
Like, there's a real Kiryu out there running his orphanage. And
Sunflower
it's
Orphanage.
A tax shelter, but he's doing a good job. Let's see what else. They found the fashion mostly correct, except for the main character wearing, like, grungy sweats.
Yeah.
Because they were like, no one would wear that.
Yeah.
They don't think the amount of violence in the game is realistic. They say these kind of fights, they take too long. Also, there's no way he'd get thrown out before the cops got him because he's a liability.
Yeah.
They think it's a good PR for their profession.
Yeah.
Although
some of them were missing their pinkies, so they had some trouble actually playing the game. That's a thing. In Yakuza 0, somebody does that. You cut off your pinky when you mess up to show your consternation, or what's the word when you're sorry about something?
Contrition. Consternation.
I don't know.
They were disappointed about some of the, like, dirty things that were cut out. Like the hostess places and mahjong. Not that mahjong is dirty, but they're like, we want mahjong back for the American audience. So it's a Yakuza approved game.
Yeah.
And this brought Emma and I to coming up with our new blog series.
Yeah.
Which is
this person reviews this game.
Yeah, person reviews a game that's about them. Let me see if I can read some highlights. Kings and Princes review Katamari. Tony Hawk reviews Tony Hawk. Let's see. Boy bands review Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah.
Pilots review Kingdom Hearts, but just the gummy ship levels. Zoo animals review Zoo Tycoon. Lawyers review Phoenix Wright. We've got a lot of good ones here.
Yeah.
So, you know, we'd love to start that blog both for real and as just like an Onion style joke. So if you feel
give us suggestions.
If you have a profession that you've seen in the game and you'd like to review that game,
hit
us up.
Yeah.
But you mentioned something about the localization of this game.
Yeah. Well, basically, the only game of the Yakuza series that has actually... They've all been brought to the West. It always takes a while after they release in Japan. They never release at the same time in the West and Japan. But the only one that actually has English dubbing is the first Yakuza. all the rest, they keep the Japanese language voice actors and just have translated text. But basically, it just never caught on very well over here until Zero, basically. But, I mean, the original Yakuza had a bunch of, like, voice actor heavy hitters, like Mark Hamill.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill does
but
weird
it was just...
voice acting stuff, though. Like, he just pops up places you wouldn't expect him.
Yeah, he does. But I think the issue was it's just too Japanese, and Western audiences were just, like, weren't able to get it. But for some reason, Yakuza 0 ended up being a pretty mainstream hit, which is why they've started redoing their games and bringing them over here again.
Well, I imagine, so, like, Yakuza 0 is a prequel wherein, like, he's just getting involved with the Yakuza, right?
Yeah. So in Yakuza 0, you play as both Kiryu and as a pretty major side character in the rest of the games, Majima, in 2 different locations. I'm pretty sure where Majima's is supposed to be based on somewhere in Osaka, but I'm not sure. But basically, yeah, you're just starting out, and then you get Kiryu's just starting out in the Yakuza, and then he is framed for murder, and has to leave the Yakuza and prove his innocence so that it doesn't reflect badly on, like, his father/patron, who is also in the Yakuza.
So that seems to me as more of a Western story that people can understand.
But it's also all tied around, like, there's this thing called the empty lot that everybody wants to know who owns it so they can buy it, so that Kiryu's, like, family can sort of own a area of Kamurocho and rebuild it and profit off of it. But if they don't have the empty lot, they can't do that, which is, like, not very exciting sounding, right?
I mean, you know,
it's all about real estate.
But look, it plays in with, like, our ideas of, like, what the mob is, you know, or what the mafia, old school mafia is, right?
Yeah.
And I realize that the Yakuza are not exactly like that, but because this game seems to kind of cast it more in that light, I imagine it's more accessible to Western audiences than, like,
I guess
here
that's
he
true,
is,
yeah.
He's been in the Yakuza for 15 years, you better know what the Yakuza are,
Yeah.
or this won't make too much
sense. To be fair, with the first game, he hasn't been in there that long either, and then most of the time he spends in jail at the very beginning. But I also think it probably helps, now that I'm thinking about it, that it is set in a time where Japan was in this bubble economy, because it means they can go pretty crazy with it. Like, when you beat up guys, they're just, like, dropping money everywhere. There's literally a move you can learn to avoid conflict where you just throw money in the air to get people to not fight you. Because apparently Japan was, like, really in a, like, you know, a good state but a bad state economy-wise back then.
Well, that sounds fun. I'd play that.
Yeah.
My real fantasy is to throw money at people, so...
Yeah. Yeah. So, I guess that also, like... you mentioned locations that the Western games don't really do that, but I also think one thing that Japanese games do slightly better in general, I'm not saying this is for all games out there, but in general, and Yakuza is a great example of this, is they manage tone a lot better. Like, Yakuza switches wildly between really dramatic and intense to the most ridiculous freaking thing you have ever seen in your entire life. And it works. It doesn't feel weird, because they just sort of throw themselves entirely into both things. Like, in Yakuza 0, you, like, hire a chicken to work at your real estate office for a bit.
What?
Which you name Nugget.
That's rude.
And there's a whole bunch of, like, crazy stuff. You help a band who are pretending to be delinquents, like a very particular style of Japanese delinquent, how to be cool and tough like that, because they're really just a bunch of nerds and they're just putting up that front to do that. So, like, it balances, because the main story is very serious, very intense, a lot of stakes, and then you have all these side quests that are just crazy, insane, but all sort of have to do with making comments on parts of Japanese society, or just are crazy for no other reason than to be crazy.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah,
I just see it.
Very, very interesting style of game. And I also think maybe like because Yakuza 0, I mean they all have great side quests, but Yakuza 0's all of their side quests are like stellar and fun and crazy. Whereas like I've been playing Kiwami, and some of them are really stellar, and some of them are like, you know, the typical, side quest fare. But they really stepped up their game with that one. And 6 apparently also has a lot of good ones.
Well, you sold me on this game. I have to see if it's available on PS3. Anyway, this is probably as good a time as any to try to figure out how to mash up these two games.
Oh, yeah. There is the zombie spin-off of Yakuza already. That's like a horror, right?
Yeah.
There's not zombies in Silent Hill, though, I'm pretty sure.
I don't have any... Okay. So, I got it.
Okay.
So you're a Yakuza boss.
Okay.
You've moved to a small American town to escape some kind of crime thing.
Okay.
And things are weird in the town, and you decide that you're gonna fix it. And so to do that, you have to do like supernatural side quests to kind of build your own American Yakuza in this small Maine town. So you have to like get ghosts to be your minions, and you build up the block, and eventually you become this little bustling city, all because of the Yaku-Ghosts.
The Yaku-Ghosts?
Yeah.
In that case, you should just be the ghost of the Yakuza, and you have to build up your own family within the Yaku-Ghosts.
I actually kind of dig that.
And it would be called Yaku-Ghosts as the title.
This seems like it will work.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I think it's a great idea.
And you go ghost bowling a lot, and your right-hand man is your ghost chicken.
Yes.
Nugget.
And you throw like gold doubloons at people.
Yeah. And you can like as you're fighting, you can possess things to throw them at people, as opposed to just chucking them at people like you do in the game.
I love it. Great. We actually have a great spin-off this week.
Wow, that was way too fast, though.
I know.
Usually it takes us a long time of, like, spitballing entirely stupid ideas before we settle on something passable.
You know what? Let's not mess with a good thing. You know? Let's just take the money that's been thrown at us.
The money that's free money, people. Game developer countries. We're coming up to you, we're throwing money at you.
Seriously. I will say...
Except the money is ideas, and in exchange for those ideas, we would like you to throw real money at us.
It's appropriate that we're discussing these two Japanese games in our, like, Golden Week edition of Talk This.
That's true, it is Golden Week.
Yes.
Which, if you don't know what Golden Week is, it's just vacation week, basically.
Yeah.
In Japan.
I didn't know what it is, and then I read a story on it on Kotaku this week, and then I played through Golden Week in Persona 5.
Yeah. They don't have as many breaks. It's not even like just a break for school, it's a break for everybody in the country. Has a week off.
People do this everywhere but here. Apparently in Rome, everyone just like takes August off.
I don't know about taking a whole month off.
They do, though.
That might not be a perfect idea. Italy. But it seems like a good idea, except for the fact that it'd be freaking crowded everywhere, probably. But it seems like appealing as someone who works a job now.
Whoa.
To have a whole week off.
Whoa.
from a job.
As job worker Emma.
Yeah, I know. As real employee. Just kidding, I'm not a real employee.
You basically are.
As contractor Emma. I would love to have a week off.
So soon.
Mm-hmm.
So this is as good a time as any to plug our social media while Emma prepares the hats. So if you like what you've heard today, or ever before, you should follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Talk This Podcast. And we're also on YouTube at Talk This Sisters. So you should subscribe there because you can catch Emma's Play This series most recently on the children and support system in the Fire Emblem games. It's a great video. You should check it out. You can also catch our weekly, because I've actually been posting it weekly, Flashback Fridays, which feature highlights from some of our episodes from a whole year ago now. On our Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, you can find we share articles about the games that we've been talking about, or just about cool articles we see in general. We share memes. You'll be the first to hear about new stuff coming up, that kind of thing. You can also, other things we share on our social media are our blog posts, which you can read on our website, www.talkthispodcast.com. If I can find the time to write them, we'll have a lot of blog content coming up this week. Although
there should also be a new Persona 5 Watch This out. That was supposed to come out last week, but the Hulu episode came out later than I was expecting. So that's up on the blog now.
Excuses. Chop off your pinky.
Unless I die during Infinity War, which I am seeing today, which is a good possibility.
Well,
might die from sheer hype.
Don't let the hype machine roll you over, Emma.
Okay.
Shall we pick our games for 2 weeks from now?
Let's do it. This is the old game, so Madelyn, tell me when.
You pick one. You pick one. I'm gonna let you pick.
Why? You pick one.
Alright, when?
Oh, have we not done this yet? Crash Team Racing.
No, we haven't!
Ah, there we go.
Yes, finally!
Okay.
Oh, man.
There's a couple in here that I think we might have picked already, so if I accidentally pick one of those, we'll just pick again.
We haven't done Crash Team Racing.
Okay, cool. I was just like, how have we not done Crash Team Racing?
Because I went through looking for it when I was doing the Siblings Day blog, and we hadn't.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, new game. When?
I wasn't even swishing around yet. Tell me when. Oh. Danganronpa V3.
Oh man, this is gonna be a supersized episode.
Yeah, go prep by watching the YouTube video on it before you listen.
Are we gonna record that episode remotely?
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. We could.
You're gonna have to edit it though. We'll talk.
That's not. I'm probably going to come up. I'm visiting Madelyn in a couple of weeks, but I probably will be coming up on Sunday, so probably a better idea to do it remotely.
Sounds good.
Because I have to sleep on her kitchen floor, so I don't really like to spend too many nights up there.
Rude.
She just puts me on the kitchen floor.
Yep.
They step on me in the mornings as they get ready for the day.
It's true. You could sleep in the closet.
Anyway, we hope you enjoyed this episode.
Next week, tune in for our, I guess, official launch, since last week was the beta test, of our new side quest format. Yeah. Which I still don't have a catchy title. I need a good title for Side Quest 4.0.
You're better at that than I am, so.
I'm gonna think of it. If you have any good titles for our, it's somewhere between Save Data and our original, rapid fire thing.
Yeah.
So if you have any good title suggestions, you can email it to us. You can talk to us at talkthispodcast.com. You can tweet at us, Facebook us, slide into our DMs on Instagram, or leave it in our comment form on the website.
Yeah.
So we'll be looking forward to that. catch us on the blog and in the webosphere this week. And Emma, do you want to sign off?
I hope you have a very Yakuza-like day. Don't have that. I hope you don't get killed by your daughter's ghost thing.
Good.